Hello everyone. Today I am with Abhinaba Saha. He is a financial journalist at Mint. Welcome, Abhinab.
Research, I talk to people, and then I report on things. So that is similar kind of work, but in a very different setting. So I'm happy with that.
So you're getting a mix actually of theory, of academia, of practical experience, everything.
Yeah. That is true.
So one actually question I would like to ask here: if you have done King's College from King's College, so why didn't you explore the opportunity of doing journalism in foreign countries for the career? What do you think are the skills necessary for entering into financial journalism? You mentioned you are interested in academia and also wanted some practical experience, not very high number crunching. But as a skill set, if I talk, what do you think कि कौन से skills ऐसे हैं which can be acquired by people or which people should have before joining the financial journalism sector?
Okay. So I think first and foremost, you have to talk to people and you have to know how to talk to people. Other than that, I feel you have to be able to quickly connect the dots, and critical thinking. So that is one thing really. You have to question everything the other person is saying.
Any course which you would like to recommend in India? Are there any online courses available for this? Second, beside courses, are there any certifications? Online certifications, physical certifications. Maybe these courses and certifications are not available or maybe not affordable in India. Any books which you would like to recommend जो कि help कर सके in acquiring these skills?
To get updated about finance and financial journalism is through reading newspapers. I never used to read newspapers till I joined my first job. And
what do you think about this? मतलब freelancing करना चाहिए या job में जाना चाहिए? What is the difference between the two?
Right. So I feel like more, and it's not even what I feel or I think. From what I've seen from my experience is that most freelancers are experienced and they have worked at some organization or the other at some point of time.
And how do you stay updated? मतलब इतना सारा news flow in हो रहा है, but ठीक है, newspapers you are reading and you yourself are printing newspapers as well. But इतना सारा information flow हो रहा है. As a newspaper company, as an employee of a newspaper company, how do you manage to segregate the information कि हाँ ये important है, ये अपने को पढ़ना है? How, what is the skill requirement at that place, and what, if you want to share, if you can share any criteria कि कैसे share होता है, मतलब आप लोग कैसे decide कर रहे हो कि yes ये information important है, this I have to keep in mind because अगर कहीं पे कुछ भी discussion होता है, even if I'm going for an interview, I should remember this. So what is the criteria and what is the thinking?
So in terms of military advances, there's that. So human interest angle is always a top priority. That trumps almost everything. So dog bites man is not news. Man bites dog is news. There is a common saying in newsrooms, right? Okay.
What do you think about the Indian capital markets right now?
Interesting. See, Indian capital markets, I would say, is in a healthy space.
What 5 misconceptions do you think people have about financial journalism or the people who are going to enter, and you think these are important to be busted up? So what do you think are the misconceptions? 5 misconceptions you would like to know.
Misconceptions.
Or you can say myths.
5 myths. Okay. I don't know if it's a myth or not, but forget work-life balance.
I mean, what is the reason behind this? Because there is a lot of criticism on this, and I've heard this so many times. Ki a small person, a small content creator, or a small, financial influencer is posting about that. But when we talk about, and it's a good news, it's a very informative news, but it is not getting covered by any media house, a big media house. So what do you think could be the reason behind this?
In terms of, say, for example, a financial influencer, the role is a bit different from a media. A financial influencer's role is to sort of, keep you informed about what stocks to buy or which asset class to invest in or which you don't have to invest in. So he's sort of giving you that person, he, she, whatever they are giving you some unsolicited advice about investment. Whereas a news organization, its job is to just report. Perhaps it didn't think that it is worthy of reporting because it doesn't want to tell people ki, Acha, you should go and buy this stock. Its job is to report, okay, what this company has done and what effect it might have on on that particular company's stocks.
Hello everyone. Today I am with Abhinaba Saha. He is a financial journalist at Mint. Welcome Abhinab. How are you?
Hi guys. I'm doing great. Thank you, Prashant, for having me here. It's really nice, and hope you're doing great as well.
I
So
am good.
please,
So let's start our discussion without
absolutely.
any further ado. Abhinab, please introduce yourself.
Yeah. So hi guys. I'm Abhinaba Saha. I'm a financial journalist at Mint. I'm from Kolkata, and I don't really come from a journalism background. I started off from economics, and I wanted to become an investment banker in finance. But then later on, I realized that there are so many other possibilities that you can go towards when you are in finance. You don't have to stick to one path. And after doing my masters and almost finishing my PhD, which I dropped out, I'll get into that in a bit. But then I decided to become a journalist. I worked in a financial news wire for a year, and I was with Informis Media, and now I am working for Mint as a market analyst.
Okay. So do you regret your decision for leaving investment banking or are you enjoying your passion?
Absolutely, I do not regret. Absolutely not, because honestly, I when I was going going for investment banking, I was pretty young, and I was just started finance, and that was my introduction to that particular field, because I watched a couple of films, Wolf of Wall Street and The Big Short, and
Yes.
so I was like, okay, this is something interesting. I'm bored of economics. Let me try this thing out. This sounds very sexy, like finance. What is
This
this?
actually happens. People who are entering finance or people who are just starting their career, they are
Yeah.
like investment banker बनते हैं. Cream field है, मस्त एकदम मजा आएगा.
but honestly, the reason I went into this particular field is because मुझे कुछ समझ में नहीं आता था. I could not understand anything. What are those numbers you would see in those tickers? What is going up, what is going down, and red, green. I was like, what is this world? And by the time I've studied economics, but it was very different. Like finance was different from economics. It's an application of the subject, but I just wanted to try that thing out.
It
Uh,
was more of a number crunching kind of
yeah,
thing.
but when I went to King's, I went to King's College London. So वहाँ पे we were sitting, and a professor walks in, and the first question he asks is like, who has seen the film The Big Short? I was like, okay, okay, I have seen it.
Uh,
It has a big influence. It has a definitely a big influence, and that is how things work. And it was a big interesting film about the financial crisis as well.
yes.
So I got to learn a lot in finance, and by the time I decided to go for journalism, I was already distant from the idea of becoming an investment banker, because there are a lot of things you have to keep in mind in terms of work-life balance, this and the kind of work you'll be doing. So you ask yourself a lot of questions. It's not just about money or
Agreed.
about the glamour of the job. It's how what It's also about like how what difference does it make around you. So I mean, to me that is important. So I shifted to journalism, and I don't regret it.
Okay. So how was your experience at King's School?
Oh, King's College London was
Sorry,
really
King's College.
amazing. Yeah, it was. So I did my masters there in finance,
Okay.
and I did it in asset pricing. I went there at around in 2019, and the thing is, it really, you know, sort of opens the door for you. You get to get exposure at a global level, and since you have a strong background in economics, and the if you go through since I was from Calcutta University, so the base was strong, and so it wasn't too difficult for me to catch up with what they were teaching and all. Rather, what I learned from there is that, okay, I have to network a lot. So I understood the importance of networking over there. So it was okay. The academia was there, obviously, but on the side, they offered a lot of opportunity to meet certain important people, and
Practical experience.
yeah, a lot of practical experiences. And then we had a entire Bloomberg trading lab. So where you get to use the Bloomberg software, and you don't necessarily trade, but each person is given their own ID and password and everything, and you basically you play around with the software, and we had this side course as well called the finance trading program,
Okay.
which I am associated with right now as well. So I am like doing those courses for Kings now online.
You
Uh,
are teaching.
yeah.
Okay.
So that I started back in 2021. I was while doing my PhD, I was teaching there, these courses, and right now I'm teaching at King's, but that's more of a private arrangement with my professor, and
Hmm.
that is a different sort of class I'm doing with them.
Okay. So you mentioned you have done PhD. So you're completed PhD or is it going
No,
on right now?
as I said, I dropped out. I
Okay.
started
Okay.
in 2021
Hmm.
December. So just after my masters. So that is when I was deciding, what should I do? Should I go for investment banking or should I proceed further with academia? Because PhD option was really lucrative as well. I got a scholarship, and they were paying me stipend and everything. So it was fully funded,
Hmm.
and I was getting a healthy stipend over there. Uh, but 1.5 year later, when I started my PhD, I just realized that okay, so this is not what I really want to do
Yes.
in life, and I'm not really satisfied with the work I'm doing. I want to do something more hands-on, something more practical, and like till then, I have never been employed. Like I've never done a job. I've always been a student all my life, so I was tired of studying as well. So I was like,
Okay.
let's chuck the PhD and let me, do something hands-on. And right now in journalism, I'm also doing the same sort of a similar thing where I research, I talk to people, and then I report on things. So that is similar kind of work, but in a very different setting. So I'm happy with that.
So you're getting a mix actually of
Yeah, yeah,
theory, of academia, of practical experience, everything.
yeah. That is true. That
So
is
one actually question I would like to ask here, ki if you have done King's College from King's College, so why didn't you explore the opportunity of doing journalism in foreign countries? Because
yeah.
Indian media is considered as more controlled than the foreign countries. So why didn't you consider that?
So there are two things. One is in finance. There is there is a not much of a scope of the media being controlled. I mean, obviously, there are certain organizations who are who have, like, there is conflict of interest because of ownerships and everything.
Yes.
But rather than that, finance is pretty straightforward. You report what's happening, and the whole fight is more about getting exclusives and all of that. So if it's in general news, then obviously it is an issue. But even then, there are still spaces. I feel like in the last 1 year, I've realized that there is still some organization, like particularly Informist. They do allow you to write freely and write whatever, without fear or favor, as our CEO used to say. So, and in terms of working abroad, also, first of all, like, I was not liking there in UK anymore. I wanted to come back home, and I just felt that during my PhD, the experience was pretty lonely over there. I mean, I struggled to make friends, and the setting was a bit quite formal, and I was sort of the youngest person in the group, and I could never really gel well with with my colleagues. So there was always a cultural barrier there. At least that was my experience, but very different from my master's experience, though. So that is why I decided to come back and work here.
Racism was also a factor. मतलब I'm asking in general because सुनने में आता है ऐसा, and on
Racism,
Instagram as well we see कि people are like that. मतलब British people are thinking कि what is he doing here?
I mean, that is any white person, to be honest. It's not just British or American or anything like that. I just and honestly, it see it is there. It is a part of the life. It is very subtle, but no one really, at least in an academic setting, people are very civil. So I thankfully I never faced anything within my university. So, and neither from the professors nor from the students. So everyone was very inclusive, very welcoming, and they were very warm. Yeah, outside university, definitely there has been experiences, but that's just way of life at this point. I couldn't, care less about them.
So let's move ahead.
Yeah, please.
Uh, as a financial journalist, I would say since you are also at the stage where you are starting your career, right?
Right.
Because you have experience of 3 to 4 years, but right now also you are starting. So at present, as a fresher or as a person who is just going to go on that graph for the career, what do you think are the skills necessary for entering into financial journalism? You mentioned you are interested in academia and also wanted some practical experience, not very high number crunching. But as a skill set, if I talk, what do you think कि कौन से skills ऐसे हैं which can be acquired by people or which people should have before joining the financial journalism sector?
Okay. So I think first and foremost, you have to talk to people and you have to know how to talk to people. So some people have it as it is. Some people are born with it, and others they have to develop it. But you must not be afraid to try. So I remember that one particular event. It was my first event I went to, and I was asked to get certain amount of cards from different people, and they're all big fund managers out there, debt fund managers, and the who's who of the industry were there, and uh, and I remember I completely choked, and I was not being able to talk to anyone, and and it was a very very jarring experience because before that I'm pretty confident that way where I can speak to anyone and get something and talk to them, have a nice conversation. But in situations like that, I choke, and that's when I realized that it it truly doesn't matter, because after that I broke my own shackles. I went and approached someone, and the conversation really flowed, and turns out that his son's name is also Abhinav, and he got really happy, and then we exchanged cards, and he's a big player in the industry. So I found out
Yeah.
later that, and so speaking to people is very important, and more so, you know, having the courage to go up and talk to someone. That is one of the main skill set, I feel.
Okay. Anything else than that?
Yeah, other than that, I feel you have to be able to quickly connect the dots, like and critical thinking. So that is one thing really. You have to question everything the other person is saying. So, and also you also have to for that you have to know your facts, right? So you have to be quick on your feet always, and also you always have to, as a journalist, you have to ask. So people shouldn't hesitate to ask, or have that. So you have to build a certain mindset. It's more than skill set. It's also about the mindset with which you're going into the industry. That is what I feel.
Okay, so basically, I can say the journalists are the informal auditors.
Okay. But I don't know what
Ask
exactly.
questions, have an analytical mind, be always on your feet, connect all the dots. I
Yeah,
see all these qualities as an
yeah.
auditor.
Lovely. I mean, yeah, it's just that we just write about all our experiences, and you crunch numbers and help people out with their businesses.
Yes, agreed. Uh, so let's move ahead.
Please.
You mentioned all these skills. Where do you think these skills can be acquired? Any course which you would like to recommend? In India, are there any online courses available for this? Second, beside courses, are there any certifications? Online certifications, physical certifications. Maybe if these courses and certifications are not available or maybe not affordable in India, any books which you would like to recommend जो कि help कर सके in acquiring these skills?
Okay. Um, to be very honest, I these are soft skills, right? And
Yes.
uh, and I feel like these can be developed through practical experiences more. And but having said that, to be honest, I don't know about any books, but one particular course I can, from my experience, I enrolled in that course myself. That is that Bombay Stock Exchange BSc Institute has its own executive, program in financial journalism. So it's a certification course, and it's a 9-month course online, and where they take you step by step through financial, how to become a financial journalist. And we're having said that, I think the course fee is around 36,000 for 9 months, and but it is on. I feel that the course would be beneficial for someone who has absolutely no idea about journalism, and has some idea about finance. And also they want to write a little bit, in terms of focusing on the writing part. So that also is a big, focus area of the course. Uh, But so when I enrolled, by that time I already have worked for 1 year at Informis, so I didn't find the course very beneficial. Uh, but I feel like people who are beginners who want to get a flavor of how things work at least, so that would be a good starting point. And beyond that, I think the best way to get updated about finance and financial journalism is through reading newspapers. I never used to read newspapers till I joined my first job, and I regret that I have not started earlier.
Earlier.
So, and I love reading at this point. So that is also one skill you can develop, for journalism, because you have to write, and to write good, you also have to read good. So all of these, these are skills you can develop out of your own will, and and yeah, you don't really need books or courses for these stuff. But as an introduction, I think BSc's course is good, and if you're not willing to pay that much money, I think Coursera and all of them, I'm sure they will have something, I mean, for free. I really don't know, honestly, but
Okay.
that is.
डिग्री प्रोग्राम है क्या जर्नलिज्म का इन इंडिया?
Huh, I think a lot of these, I think Xavier's has, Delhi University has, and then ACJ has I think ACJ's course is a diploma, but it's tied up with Bloomberg.
Okay.
IIJNM was an institute; it has been shut down. Uh,
Okay.
so my colleagues, they are pass outs of from Manorama is a good journalism school.
And what is the costing of these degrees? मतलब around
Roughly, mota like 5 to 9 lakhs.
a year?
I think the Bloomberg course was for 10 lakhs for like what, 9 months, something like that, for almost a year, something. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. And since you are working as a full-time journalist at a known news space,
yeah.
but there are people who are working on a freelancing basis.
Right, right,
So what do you think about this? मतलब freelancing करना चाहिए या job में जाना चाहिए?
right,
What is the difference between the two?
right. So I feel like and it's not even what I feel or I think. From what I've seen from my experience is that most freelancers are experienced, and they have worked at some organization or the other at some point of time. And so freelancing, I feel, is a very natural and gradual progression. So every journalist, starting me, I've not heard anyone starting off as a freelancer. I mean, you can be a content writer, then you won't be a journalist. I mean, people do. I mean, I'm not saying that there are no people who started off as a freelancer, nothing like that. But on an average, generally, it's good to start at an organization, gain some experience, because your peers are also important, guiding forces in your career. So you also learn from them a lot. So they are, as much as so as long as there is some healthy competition in the field, uh, so it drives you to do better. So and once you have enough experience in that field, you have enough sources to so that people will speak to you and not just because of your organization. So that is when when you're comfortable enough to to freelance, then it comes naturally. Or else people move to PR or Copcom. That is the end fate.
What is Copcom?
Corporate communication. So like
अच्छा,
where you
okay,
write the
okay.
press releases for all the companies,
हाँ.
and handle media communications, because we talk media people talk to the corporate communications people.
Yes. Hmm.
That's how it works.
Understood. So you're basically saying कि if you want to become a financial journalist, a freelancer, then you should do a job for a certain period of years, and then you can start, because it will give you networking benefits as well
Absolutely,
as confidence and the experience,
absolutely,
so that
absolutely,
people can trust you.
absolutely.
Any specific freelancing journalist which you personally follow in
I
India?
in India. So there is one writer, Shomik Bagh. He writes for Mint Lounge.
Okay.
So I've read a few of his articles, and then and I think Ravish Kumar at this point, he's a
Okay.
freelancer. So you see, right? You see the
Yes.
transition I was speaking of. So yeah, that I mean that is there.
Okay. And how do you stay updated? मतलब इतना
Newspapers.
सारा न्यूज़ फ्लो इन हो रहा है,
Uh,
बट ठीक है, न्यूज़पेपर्स यू आर रीडिंग एंड यू योरसेल्फ आर प्रिंटिंग न्यूज़पेपर्स एज वेल, बट इतना सारा इन्फॉर्मेशन फ्लो हो रहा है एज ए न्यूज़पेपर कंपनी, एज एन एम्प्लॉय ऑफ न्यूज़पेपर कंपनी, हाउ डू यू मैनेज टू सेग्रीगेट द इन्फॉर्मेशन कि हाँ ये इंपॉर्टेंट है, ये
Yeah,
अपने
that
को पढ़ना
is.
है? How, मतलब what is the skill requirement at that place, and what if you want to share, if you can share any criteria कि कैसे शेयर होता है, मतलब आप लोग कैसे डिसाइड कर रहे हो कि yes ये इन्फॉर्मेशन इंपॉर्टेंट है, this I have to keep in mind, because अगर कहीं पे कुछ भी डिस्कशन होता है, even if I'm going for an interview, I should remember this. So what is the criteria and what is the thinking
So,
is?
I mean, this is what you're asking is purely news judgment, and it is a big thing when you're working in journalism. And you know, इसका answer यही है कि it comes with experience. From that is what I have realized working like from only 1 year of my experience, and it is also a lot about intuition. And see, the more you read newspapers, you will see, okay, so what type of news is important. So a human interest angle anywhere, like for example, if since the wars are going on, and imagine in that particular country, so the number of people dying or any update regarding whatever you know is happening in terms of military advances, this that. So human interest angle is always a top priority.
Okay.
That trumps almost everything. And speaking of Trumps, I mean, you see, Trump almost got assassinated, right?
Yes.
And so that is a big news. It was everywhere, and obviously, it's and so you have to understand in such cases, like US is the world's biggest economy. It is the most powerful country, and right now, and in terms of geopolitics as well, people have their allegiances, and when your the presidential candidate is almost being assassinated, so people are worried, like if we
uh,
can trust this country or not. So what will people talk about?
and
There is.
even America was trolled so very highly, मतलब it was like कि इंडिया को इतना बोल रहे हो कि ये नहीं है वो नहीं है, and you yourself are doing these kind of things, इससे अच्छे तो यहाँ के opposition के leaders है.
Yeah, he almost got killed. I mean, like thankfully this election we didn't see anything of that sort. People getting killed and all. But I feel like it's all about what people would talk about. That is the main criteria of news judgment, or what to put in the front page of the newspaper. So, and dog bites man is not news. Man bites dog is news. That is a common saying in newsrooms, right?
Okay.
What is new? Some new development has to be there. That is also one criteria for it being news. So it's in the word like new. So that is how we have learned, and purely it comes with experience. You see people, you see your editors who are working. So you learn from them, like how they judge, and so it's basically learning on the job. That is why I
Okay.
chose this field in the first place.
Hmm. So let me ask something.
Yes,
Let's
please.
see if you are updated or not.
Okay,
What do you think about the Indian capital markets right now?
interesting. See, Indian capital markets, I would say, is in a healthy space. So there is, and when I speak of capital markets, I'm including both equity and debt. Equity may there is always a bit of over exuberance, and that is not just Indian stock market. It is all around the world. Equity people are more risky, a bit more bullish. Well, debt people are a bit more,
Yes.
risk averse. As like that's why
Hmm.
they go for fixed income and steady flow aata rahe bas.
Right.
And right, but overall, if you look at the economy the state of the economy, growth wise, we are doing good, 7.8%, almost. 8% we crossed. So
Yes.
and but inflation is a bit high, but people are not too concerned at this point. So overall, and with the JP Morgan index inclusion that happened, so overall, if I think since the announcement till June, till date, almost around 900 billion has come into, $1 billion have come into the capital market, the debt markets. So and I feel like overall, India's position in the global stage has also,
Improved.
better has
Uh,
become better. So foreign investors have a lot of interest both in the stock market and the debt market. Overall, so far so good.
okay. So the equity market you think is a bit overvalued. It will
Yeah,
need some correction, but debt market is healthy right now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if we talk about the overall economy, you think it's healthy?
See, overall economy, that's a whole other thing. Overall economy, in terms of in financial markets, think that the economy is doing good because we are only looking at growth numbers, the bottom line and the top line of the companies. Companies are doing great. I mean, and when it comes, but the overall economy, you also have to take into consideration the aspect of development, and that's where there has been a lot of talk about K-shaped economic growth, where the
What's
rich
that?
is getting richer and the poor is getting
Hmm.
poorer. It's the increasing inequality.
Hmm.
That is why it's a K-shaped recovery. And and if you take the example of SUV sales, if you look at the auto industry, so SUVs are in high demand. Compact SUVs, all these Jeep Compass, Suzuki Brezza, or all these small compact SUVs, they're in high demand right now, and it shows that one section of Indians, they're going for more aspirational purchases like SUVs, iPhones, and this and that. You can also look at this data at from the perspective of retail loans, which is also increasing quite a lot. So
Yes.
so one section of the economy is doing good. They're going for premium products, whereas if you look at entry level cars or two wheelers, their sales have lagged quite a bit. uh,
Okay.
so so the poor people or the lower middle class people, their income and their consumption has not recovered as proportionately as with them, with the upper middle class people. So there is growth, but it's not inclusive. That's the
Yes,
big.
I think, but matlab, since India is still growing, right? So I think the gap between the rich and the poor is going to increase. I think until and unless we reach a certain development stage, it is going to increase. Inflation is also going to increase. It might go bit down or maybe up, but in long term, if I say since it's still developing, it will increase because I was talking to one of the equity research analysts as well. He was also saying that the same thing. India is at a stage where the US was standing when it started developing and became a developed nation around the 1800s. So it is going to increase a bit, but eventually the gap will come down and the inflation will also get controlled.
Right. I mean, inflation is coming under control. RBI did a good job in managing
Yes.
inflation, but one thing you have to also understand that in our case, so food is a big component in the inflation basket.
Ha,
So it's
yes.
almost around 46% or something, if I'm not wrong. I think it is so. And so a lot of the average Indian spends a lot on food, and if you look at the last onion prices or veggie prices in general over the last 1 year, food inflation last month for June was around vegetable inflation was around what 29% or something, year on year rise. So this year as well, food inflation was a big factor. So around 9% of food inflation overall, I'm speaking, for the month of June. So in that case, you see, and it is mainly because of lack of rainfall, enough adequate rainfall in June and in May. So you remember the heat wave in Delhi and everything, right? So
Yes.
that had an impact, in terms of the supply, uh, and so definitely so climate change is also a big factor in terms of inflation control, if you look from a broader perspective.
Yes. Agreed.
Food price is linked to that, and until and unless food prices are controlled, inflation will be a bit sticky moving forward. And in terms of the inequality bit, what you said, I agree that it is going to increase, but that is where the government is has to step in. And and I read one really nice article in the Economist where they argued that how they can actually mobilize and make the agriculture, the agri sector more profitable, rather than looking at
Yes.
it just from a welfare perspective. So where there I read something about the Araku coffee plantation in
Okay.
Araku Valley, where they are and they are helping farmers grow high yielding coffee, giving them high yielding berries, and they only buy those products, market them, and selling them in cafes in Paris and Bangalore and Bombay. So farmers are getting rich that way. So policies has to be there to support the agri sector as well, which will overall, which will again boost overall consumption of the economy, and in terms lead to inclusive growth. So it is possible. uh, we don't have to wait too long for that.
Agreed. And even when we talk about the agricultural sector, a lot of startups are also coming up trying to introduce new technologies that can help us to grow crops with less water or everything. Matlab, there are people coming up.
True.
So let's move ahead.
Please.
Uh, what 5 misconceptions do you think people have about financial journalism or the people who are going to enter, and you think these are important to be busted up? So what do you think are the misconceptions? 5 misconceptions you would like to give,
Misconceptions.
or you can say myths.
5 myths. Uh, okay. Uh, I don't know if it's a myth or not, but forget work-life balance. I mean,
That is actually becoming true in every industry.
yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like I left investment banking. I mean that field, because I didn't want to work for like, what, 90 hours a week or something. Um, but now here I am an informist, or in journalism where you don't really watch the clock basically. So that is one thing. Other is that hmm, we don't expect people to be nice to you. That is one thing. People overall in general, when you tell them ki, you're a journalist, normal people, I've seen them, like they tend to get a bit scared and like I don't know, I don't want to talk and all of that shit. So you be prepared for a lot of rejection. So people being rude to you. So don't expect anyone will be sweet. So that will be one lesson. And what else? What else? What else? Misconception, or I can't think of anything else. Two only I could.
चलेगा कोई नहीं. uh, let's talk about package.
Yeah.
See, when I talk about the financial journalism, there is a part which is the video part, CNBC or
Right.
NDTV Profit or ET News, these, right? And
Right.
then again, these counterparts also have printed newspapers, like
Right.
ET has its own newspaper, and Mint, and many others. So when I talk about packages, do they vary when it comes to video industry and the printing industry, first of
Yeah,
all?
yeah, they do. They do. So
And which industry has the higher, percentage of packages, I would say? What is the amount of packages available in the video industry? When you enter a video industry, what is the package available?
around 3 to 4 lakhs, if I'm not.
Okay. And what kind of work do you get when you enter the video industry?
So for broadcasting, and from that is this is what I've heard from my colleagues who have
Okay.
gone there. I don't have much of an idea. For in broadcast, you mainly work in production. So
Yeah.
and it is a lot of grueling work. You have to do a lot of video editing, and you have to be prompt the anchors. You have to
Okay.
prompt the anchors and everything. That and But from what I've heard is broadcast is a more hardcore space for journalism, and there it is. If you are at an entry level position, chances are like, I mean, you will be quite worked up over there. So it is
Okay.
from what I've heard, it is it's better to start off in newspaper. I mean,
Okay.
unless you're like very passionate about broadcast and you want to go there and you want to become, an anchor or a face in front of the TV. So that is fine in that case.
Okay. And matlab, even if you are entering as a journalist, you have to work something related to editing, or in the production house, anything can be done except uh, on the first day as a fresher coming on the TV. Uh,
Is it like that? I've not heard. Like, I mean, later on, maybe you can be sent to field. I mean, a few of my colleagues, ex-informists, they have gone out in the field and they have 2 years of experience at Informist, and then they
okay.
went to some other organization.
But they have some experience.
They have some experience behind them, and I don't know that whether they would be sent on the field on the first day.
Yes.
But since they are experienced, and also I think in journalism schools, so you are sent on assignments. That is what I've
Okay.
heard from my colleagues. So they have told me that they would go out and talk to people. So so people, I think, do all of this stuff during internships as well, a bit here and there, but some bit of experience is required to be in the field.
Okay. And जैसे जैसे increase होता है level in the broadcasting, when you start coming on TV, you are growing. What kind of packages can you expect?
Uh, I think, okay, so in journalism, after like I think 10 years or so, like your package really, as in by industry standards, it increases significantly. Like then you can expect like to earn, I don't know, like 24 LPA, around that. But that is after 10 years, I'm saying.
Okay. And you're talking about broadcast plus the print media, or just the print media, or just the broadcast?
I'm speaking in terms of print, and I think okay. So the news wire, they pay the highest. Okay, so Informist is a news wire, and
Okay.
they're the only indigenous news wire, competing with Bloomberg and Reuters.
What is
So,
Newswire?
so a news wire is, so if you look at Bloomberg, so Bloomberg has its own software, like at the
Yes.
Bloomberg terminal, where you can trade, where you get all sorts of news related to everything related to finance, all from all around the world. So that terminal is called, so where the news comes in that
Okay.
terminal is called a wire. So,
Okay.
so Cogensis is an Indian brand. So Cogensis also has a terminal like that. A financial software basically. It's a financial software.
Okay.
So Informis supplies the news to Cogensis, and
And it is
Cogen.
shown to
So
journalists.
that is why we are a wire, as in, so we supply the news to that financial software, and the entire structure is very different. It is, a wire is designed to be quick, and it is purely for institutional players, like
Okay.
investment banks, commercial banks, state banks, whatever, like, or mutual funds. Everyone has a Bloomberg terminal. Every financial institution has a Bloomberg terminal or Reuters terminal, Refinitiv. Cogensis is also there. So there you get the news. So we work in a very tight schedule, and the main goal is to, you know put out information as swiftly as possible, because time is key here, and it is quite routined as well. So people keep track of whatever you're writing. There you don't get as much exposure, but you really learn the intricacies of the market, because you're absolutely, informing, on financial markets.
Great. So ब्रॉडकास्टिंग में अगर 10 years हो गया है तो कितना पैकेज एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं? मे बी अ लिटिल बिट मोर बिकॉज यू आर ऑन टीवी.
I think so. I think so, and I think it also depends on your face and like how you are in front of the camera. So I think definitely around 30-ish.
Okay.
But these are like very, rough idea I'm
Yes,
giving.
obviously.
I might
Yes.
not be close to any of these numbers, but this is what I've overall heard from people.
Okay. And what are the entry level positions in print media? Because when you talk about the broadcast media, you taught me कि there are positions of video editing or something like that. When we
Right.
talk about print media, what kind of entering positions can we say?
I think, okay, so as a entry level, you enter as a reporter only, and then
Okay.
after a reporter, you become a correspondent, then a serial correspondent, and the more experience you get in a particular beat, so your, positions, uh, your post increases, but you have to spend a significant amount of time before you, become a senior correspondent, from a correspondent.
Okay.
So
And what are you
initially,
doing as a reporter? मतलब when you are entering as a reporter, what are the two basic things that you are doing, two core things of being a reporter?
meeting your sources and writing stories. Two basic
Okay.
things. So you have to go out, talk to people, whatever beat you're covering. Your editors will help you with contacts and everything. It is up to you to go out, meet those people, talk to them, build those connections, nurture those connections, and eventually you'll start getting stories. And also have to look out, for, news bits here and there, whatever you're hearing from your colleagues, this that. So and then you have to write. So these are the two main things, two core things.
Okay. So I think we have tried to cover everything that can be covered about the financial journalism,
Yeah,
and we have talked a lot about the markets as well.
absolutely.
One last question before
Yes.
we end this interesting session. There has always been a lot of criticism कि the media, when I talk about the media, I'm talking about the print media as well. I'm talking about the broadcasting media as well, mainstream broadcasting media. They are not covering every aspect of a news, or maybe they are even keeping the news, away from people. They are not even posting about it. So what is the reason behind this? Because there is a lot of criticism on this, and I've heard this so many times कि a small person, a small content creator, or a small, uh, financial influencer is posting about that. But when we talk about, and it's a good news, it's a very informative news, but it is not getting covered by any media house, a big media house. So what do you think could be the reason behind this?
Mm.
Because there is a lot of criticism on this, and I've heard this so many times कि small person, a small content creator, or a small, financial influencer is posting about that. But when we talk about, and it's a good news, it's a very informative news, but it is not getting covered by any media house. So what do you think could be the reason behind this? or should I say, what are the basis on which you are choosing the news? We have talked about this before, but because of this criticism, I'm asking this question again. What do you think about this criticism, and do you have a counter for this criticism? What is your view on this?
Okay, so my view is that the situation is very nuanced. Okay, so on one end, I agree that certain news agencies or organizations, they don't cover the full picture. Main reason being people don't know enough. That is also there. So if you look at traditional media houses, so people, certain journalists, they have been there for like 10, 15, 20 years. So journalists, the breed of journalists, it's uh, it's quite experienced, matured, old. So they are in the industry, and some people, they keep up with things, changing things, keep up with whatever's happening in the market. They write. Some people, they don't. Most of them don't, right? So that is why it doesn't get covered. And also, media houses, they have their own priorities, right? To be honest, like they also have to run their companies, and maybe, and they can't be doing bias reporting as well. They can't be just, but they do. I'm not saying they don't. They do, absolutely they do. uh, but but in terms of, say for example, a financial influencer, the role is a bit different from a media. His a financial influencer's role is to sort of keep you informed about what stocks to buy, or which asset class to invest in, or which you don't have to invest in. So he's sort of giving you, that person, he, she, whatever, they are giving you some unsolicited advice about investment. Whereas a news organization, its job is to just report. Perhaps it didn't think that it is worthy of reporting, because it doesn't want to tell people ki, Acha, you should go and buy this stock. Its job is to report, okay, what this company has done, and what effect it might have on, on that particular company's stocks. So it is up to you whether you will buy this stock or sell this stock. That is the a news agency or a news organization's job, is not to tell you, about this stock in depth or
But I
anything.
think the role is changing actually. It is getting like this because the
Okay.
influencers are giving the news. The mainstream media, broadcast media is all behind ki which stocks to buy, which stocks to not. And even SEBI is trying to, regulate these things. And kitne sare frauds in the recent past, if we see, I won't take the name of channel, but we have seen कि उसी channel में कितने सारे ऐसे लोग मिले कि they are doing fraud by giving advice, pumping, dumping, and all these things. So I think the role is getting switched
I
because
think so. I think so. I think, and see, that is why it is very important. I mean, I agree with, with your point, because there are certain organizations which do that, whereas there are certain other organizations like which don't actually. So I have worked. I was lucky enough to work in one organization which didn't have any stake, in the field. We were just there to report, and we were reporting, and obviously in that sense, fine, freelance journalists or influencers, or people, young people like us, we are doing a great job in that case, I feel, like, taking things in our own hands. So I think we should go hand in hand, as in, like, there are certain, there are certain, and in case of influencers as well, there are a lot of other people, like, who are not qualified, registered investment advisors. So if you end up losing money, they are not really responsible for that as well. So there is, as I said, it's gray, right? It's all shades of gray, and there are pros and cons to both, and both exist. Like, in terms of people who are putting forward the news independently, and also news organizations who are strictly reporting. So I think it's up to you what you choose to consume at the end of the day.
yes, and वो लालच ही आ जाता है जहाँ पे I am
हाँ.
watching such segments.
Exactly. Yeah.
Done. Thanks a lot for joining today, Abhinav.
No worries, no worries. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yes, same here. It was a very informational, very informative for me as well. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.
Absolutely. Bye.